Welcome back, Duelists. Casual Duelist here. And today we're going to talk about probably the least interactive deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! We're going to talk about a Mystic Mind build. Now, first and foremost, I just want to point out real quick that I just picked this deck up like this. And I'm going to show you just a quick 6-card swap out right at the end of the deck list to how I would change it. Those changes are how I would play it, but I'm actually going to present this one the way that I received it. So this is kind of a cool pickup. It was kind of tough to trade for because it does contain some cards that are worth some value. So let's just go ahead and knock out the deck list for you guys real quick, and then we can talk about the rest. So the monsters are going to be exactly 5. We are going to be using 2 copies of Planet Pathfinder and 3 copies of Silent Wabi. And again, this is just going to come down to consistency with how we are going to play this deck. And again, there's not going to be too much interaction with our opponent. The next up should be, I want to say I counted this out earlier to being about 26 spell cards. The first one is going to be your actual win condition. It's going to be 3 copies, Cauldron of the Old Man. So basically we're going to go for a big burn. We're going to use single copy Demise of the Land. We will change that later. 3 copies of Field Barrier. 3 copies Goddess Skuld's Oracle. 2 copies Left Arm Offering. 3 copies of the Mystic Mine itself. Single copy One Day of Peace. 3 copies of Pot of Duality. 3 copies Pot of Extravagance. 3 copies of Prohibition, single copy Terraforming, single copy Upstart Goblin. Now this time I'm going to leave these up a little bit because again, this is a bit to write down. Screenshot, whatever it is that you guys do. A ton of spells. Not too many on the traps. We are going to have, like, let me do a quick count here. It's 8. So just real quick, I'm going to go ahead. Movie magic will clean up the field. And of course, now that that is clear, let's get you guys those trap cards. For right now, it is 3 copies Dark Bribe, single copy Metaverse, single copy Ojama Trio, and triplicate of Reckless Greed. So again, kind of basic. I think you guys are getting why the cards are looking the way they are. I am going to pick that up now. And then the extra deck is totally whatever you guys want it to be. You guys personally each pick 15 cards that you guys enjoy having with you. These are just the 15 cards I got with this. When I picked this up, I got a copy of the Blaze Phoenix, single copy Carbanola, Rainbow Overdragon was in there, Last Warrior from Another Planet was in there, Beals of the Diabolic Dragons or Diabolic Dragons. There was a Shooting Star Dragon. There was a Stardust, Castell, Exo Sister Asophiel, Exo Sister Caspitel. Number 41, Baguska. Good card, great card. 3 copies, Crooked Cooks. And a single of Tornado Dragon. But we're never going to make any of these. So this is for your Pot of Extravagance. This part doesn't really even matter. I did take a picture of that for the title card. Just because it's kind of my go-to. If the deck really doesn't have an extra deck like Monarchs or True Draco, then, you know, that's fine. But today, that was the thing. Now, I did say I would trade out some cards. So, in order to make the deck better, I would be adding 3 copies Dimension Shifter. 2 additional copies Demise of the Land, and a single Harpy's Feather Duster. What would I be trading out of this deck list? I'd be trading out a Silent Wabi. So that would turn into our Feather Duster. I would get rid of all copies Reckless Greed. So that'll give us, let's just say that's our Dimension Shifters, just because that's a quick 3 for 3. So let's put those there. Let's put that like this. I still need 2 cards for the Demise of the Land. Did make sense to only have one Ojama Trio in here, but I get why that was in here. And then I will probably take out the, let's go with the 1 Day of Peace for the other Demise of the Land. Now, the reason for this is consistency with our field spell, and the fact that 1 Day of Peace means that neither of us take battle or take damage the turn or the next turn afterward, which sort of shuts off my own win condition. The Ojama Trio, again, it's just not as consistent at 1. The Wabi, because again, I don't really need that many monsters in this deck. It's going to be fine. Feather Duster, however, if I think maybe my opponent's set up, maybe I think that there's going to be like a Solemn Judgment or a Solemn Strike. Some decks, you just want that one of Feather Duster. And of course, I'm using the alternate art here, going back to the Battle Pack 01. In the Reckless Greeds, I don't mind the draw 2 now, don't draw 2 later. But the Dimension Shifter actually works way better on our turn. So the Dimension Shifter would be the start of the move. If I have no cards in my graveyard, I can send this from hand to graveyard. Until the end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. I don't think it'll banish itself. It would be cool if it did, but I don't think it does. So it's really just about ensuring that like the first turn, our opponent isn't able to send cards to the discard pile, or they're not able to resolve in the discard pile. It just really helps out. Reckless Greed, you guys know that. I'll go over the Wabi when I do the rest of the deck. You guys probably know the Ojamatria. It just lets us spawn tokens on the opponent's side. So I'm going to take these 6, and we're going to go ahead and place them right there. Doesn't matter. And let's go over, you know what? No, that's it. That's it. So I'll go over the effects here in a second for anybody who hasn't known the effects. Because again, this is probably more of a common problem that I think coming up against a type of deck like this. So really, for those of you that just wanted the deck list, thanks for stopping by. I got ahead of myself for some reason. If you guys want to support the channel, hit subscribe. If you've already done that, just keep coming back. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you next time. You guys have a great day. Everybody else, let's actually go over the deck with my mods in it. So, real quick, again, with the Dimension Shifter, we just went over that, so I'm actually going to skip it because that will be fine. The Planet Pathfinders are going to work much like our Terraformings while allowing us to keep a lower board count. So you summon this, tribute it, add your field spell from deck to hand, and just go ahead, get your Mystic Mine there. Next up would be our Silent Wobbies. During the main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand to the opponent's side of the field. When summoned this way, the controller will now draw a card, and if you do, the opponent will gain 2,000 life. So I will get 2,000 life points, and you get a card and a monster, and then I'm going to play my Mystic Mine, and then you're going to have to deal with that. You can only use this effect once per turn, and the hand size limit of this card's controller becomes 3. So you now also have less options during the end phase, but once I have my field spell up, it's not going to matter because your monsters are going to have their effects negated, and you're going to try to offboard the Wabi as soon as possible anyway. Going into the spells, again, I'm looking over here. I'm going to fold these in as, I'm going to fold these in as needed. The first one is our win condition. That's going to be Cauldron of the Old Man. When this is activated, give it a counter. Then once per turn during the standby phase, during my own standby phase, I get to place a counter on this card. Then once per turn, I may activate one of the following. I can either gain 500 life per counter, or I can burn the opponent for 300 per counter. So every turn, this is just going to get more powerful. And I get to choose when in the turn to activate it, so that's cool too. Next up will be Demise of the Land. And again, this is one of the ones I wanted to bump to 3. Activate when the opponent special summons a monster, select a field spell from the deck, and activate it. So they changed it to summons a monsters on the new effect text. And again, just our opponent's going to do this. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Everybody special summons except this deck. So Demise of the Land is going to win. Field Barrier. Field spells cannot be destroyed. Neither player can activate a new field spell. You can only control one of these at a time. It's just blanket protection. It means that we don't have to go into trying to play links. We don't have to play Barricade Board Blocker to protect our stuff. It's fine. Goddess Scold's Oracle. And this one's an interesting choice. And I talked to the player I was getting this deck from. They explained this to me, and I think it's actually kind of brilliant. So normally when this card is activated, if I only control Valkyrie monsters, then I can add one Goddess of Verdan's Guidance from the deck to the hand. Of course, we're not playing the Valkyries, so don't worry about it. We're worried about this once per turn during the main phase. You may look at the top 3 cards of the opponent's deck, and if you do, put them back in an order that you choose. You cannot normal summon or special summon monsters for the remainder of the turn except Fairy. And you can only activate one of these per turn. This is all fine. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to interact with our opponent's deck and make sure that they are going to more than likely dead draw the next card. So you always want to pick whatever's worst for them. It's simple. It's so simple. It's kind of stupid, but you know, it is what it is. And again, this is one of those cards that, like, most of this deck is fairly cheap. I think the Mystic Mines are a little bit pricey. I know the Pots of Extravagance are pricey. I think these are still relatively, like, low cost. They're pretty cool. Left Arm Offering, you have to have at least 2 or more other cards in your hand in order to activate this. When you do, banish your entire hand. Add 1 spell from the deck to your hand. You may not set spell traps during the turn you activate this. So you can't set a bunch of stuff, then activate it and go searching. Can't do that. But what you can do is set up, pass your turn, end your turn, play this the next turn, and then go ahead and use the cards that you already had face down. It's a big reason why I wanted to eliminate the Reckless Greeds. I wanted to limit how much trap interaction I had, just so it didn't feel as weird. Because you could still play spells from your hand, you just can't set them. And then, of course, you have your Mystic Mine. This is the big problem child for everybody. If your opponent controls more monsters than you, then they can't activate effects or attack. If you control more than them, then you can't activate monster effects or attack. And then once per turn during the end phase, if both players have the same number, then Mystic Mine is destroyed by its own effect. So, again, because we're not going to be playing a whole bunch, we do have to watch out for things like Dark Hole. Our opponent might activate Dark Hole and end turn. Then we have the same number of cards. If we were to keep any monsters on board and they were to kaiju us, we were unable to get rid of the kaiju, then they could just get to where they only have 1 card, create a link play, do an Xyz play, whatever they want. And this would allow them to then round it to 1 and 1. And again, if they could match our number, they can make us match. Fantastic. And I want to say this is one of the reasons that Ojama Trio was originally in here. If I can just go ahead and bring that back. Because you could go ahead, you could activate Ojama Trio, and just immediately your opponent has more than you. So that would be cool. Pot of Duality, excavate top 3, add 1 from that to your hand, shuffle the rest back into the deck. Only activate 1 of these per turn, cannot special summon the turn you activate this. So that's fine, that's fair. Extravagance at the start of the main phase 1, banish 3 to 6 random face down cards from the extra deck. Banishing them face down. Draw 1 for every 3 banished, and for the remainder of the turn after this resolves, you may not draw it by card effect, but you can add by card effect. So that would be fine. And this does have to be move number 1 that turn, so can't use your Dimension Shifter the turn you're going to use that. Prohibition. Prohibition kind of speaks for itself. It seems like a weird trick play. When you activate this, you declare 1 card name. Cards with that name and their effects cannot be used. Cards on the field that are already activated or are already on the field are not affected. So one example that everybody likes to bring up is if I prohibit Jinzo while Jinzo's already on the field, whatever. You can't play another Jinzo, but that Jinzo's fine. The instance here is really, I want to go after things like Feather Duster, Lightning Storm. I want to make sure Twin Twisters is kind of null void. I'm looking to protect the back row so I can protect my Cauldron and protect my field spell. I don't really care about Geki Dark Hole because, again, I'm not trying to keep monsters on board. In fact, for me to have no monsters and you to even have 1 immediately means Mystic Mine is safe. So I'm cool with that. So Prohibition, kind of a weird, but again, smart tech. Terraforming, again, just access to your field spell, Upstart Goblin. I don't care how many life points you got. I just want to get to that card. I need to get to my combo pieces. And due to that, whatever. If you gain 1,000, you gain 1,000. The Feather Duster, again, just in case you did build up a back row, it's good to have 1 pocketed. Just is what it is. The bribes are kind of funny. When the opponent activates a spell or trap, they draw a card, you negate the activation, destroy the card. So it's more budget friendly to the deck, and it's more budget friendly to the player in the fact that we're not actually using Solemn Judgments. Judgment would be a good play here, but Dark Bribe is almost the better play because, again, with Mystic Mind, nulling out monster effects, and it doesn't matter what monsters you get. I don't care, as long as you draw a monster. But if I stop that Twin Twister, if I stop that Feather Duster, if I stop that Lightning Storm, it's okay that you get the one card and I don't have to pay my life points, because there might be a turn, since we took out the 1 Day of Peace, where I'm vulnerable, so I'm going to do that. At End Metaverse, just another trap. Take a field spell from your deck, either activate it or add it to your hand. Brilliant. You just figure out which one you're going to activate. And then, like I said, when it comes to the extra deck, my friends, just go ahead and whatever 15 you really want to see, because, again, your opponent's not going to see them. You're going to banish them face down. There's very rare times where you're even going to play any card out of here. And the way I have this built today, what's the only thing we could do? I think it's Wabi. Now, Wabi and Pathfinder, I guess, are both 4s. So there is like a very slim chance for our rank 4 Xyz. So you might get a Tornado Dragon double MSTing. You might get Crooked Crook, whatever. I don't know why you would play him. You got Baguska. That sort of makes a little sense with the stall. But once the Mystic Mind's up, monster effects on the opposing side, they're not. So some of that just doesn't make enough sense. It's just pot of fodder. That is the deck list today. Tomorrow, I'm going to swap the sleeves. This way, everything's in the reds. And I'm going to do a couple little test hands. And when I do the test hands, we'll just see just how well it sets up. I mean, I don't really know why I paused there. So we'll just do that. I hope to see you guys then. Sorry for being a little silly. It was a long day, guys. It was a long day. I filmed this yesterday, sorry. So this was on, oh my goodness. This was Wednesday night. So I had a lot of running to do. That's my fault. See you guys next time. Later.